property giants have reported contracting growth and more pain ahead in 2020, but one VisMin player has managed to take advantage of the crisis. Here to share with us what they've got right, we have with us Cebu Landmasters' Chairman and CEO, Jose Soberano III. Good morning, sir, and welcome back.
Morning, Danie. Happy to be here.
Thank you, sir, and very good to see you looking very healthy and safe, sir. Let's talk about your press release right now, which is saying that the first half 2020 sales are up. This is reservation sales, up by 41.3% year-on-year to 7.43 billion. We're still awaiting your first half results, your second quarter results. But just on the basis of this, parang too good to be true. How did this happen that the sales are actually jumping during this very, very difficult period?
It's basically home and residential condo sales. It's only telling us that the market is really in need for these accommodations to be around, especially becoming more pronounced because of the pandemic. They see the need rather than being cramped in limited dwelling places. And if they would have that opportunity and have these affordable options, and that's really what is proven by the strong take-up on the second quarter. This has been a blessing for many developers, and I think this will continue in the next months or so.
Sir, a lot of our viewers are probably wondering how the situation is in VisMin compared to Metro Manila, especially when we're talking about property projects, construction projects. You were saying in your report that it's, a lot of the areas you are in are low risk now, but it's actually Cebu was one of the hot spots. So why are people still buying property in Cebu, especially given this ECQ that was reimposed also in the city very recently?
Yeah, when they realized that the situation worsening, so they feel that the better way to address them is to have better security and safety and health, and that's going to be a part of making them have the opportunity to be in homes and communities that are a lot healthier, better surroundings. Now, in the case of VisMin, there are areas that are a lot more open. Even during the height of our lockdown in Cebu City, they continue to do a lot of these construction activities. Now, we are a hotspot, but recently, just last week, Cebu City was now upgraded to GCQ. And we have noticed that the cases, the COVID cases has really dropped and has been managed very well. So that's a very good sign for us here.
Okay, that's good to know and reassuring. We hope the same happens in the capital, which has not happened so far. Sir, you've already announced that some of your expansion projects and CapEx will be not necessarily shelved, but delayed for a further period. Did the lockdowns actually affect any of your current projects and construction timeline?
Slightly, because there are those projects that we continued, especially those that we have already started construction. And for example, in Cebu City, the local government here has allowed some minimal construction works. So this, instead of doing it 100%, which we cannot do, we managed to do only about 50-60%. So this has affected to a certain extent. But in some other areas, like again, the Oro, Bacolod, Iloilo, things are more open and it continued as they are. So in our case, for those projects that we have already started, we continued, but with a slight slowdown overall. But we also have deferred some projects, especially projects that we have not started yet. And we continued with projects that are even on the retail and hospitality side, which will be completed within the next 3 years, and by then I think things would be a lot more normal than we'll be having now.
Okay, so still banking on these projects after 3 years, sana. Sir,
Yeah.
what is your outlook on the VisMin region in terms of property prices? You have a report from Colliers, at least in Metro Manila, land values may actually drop by 5 to 15%. Is the regional province going to be seeing this type of steep decline as well? Are you in a way a bit insulated? Will you be benefiting from, some have said, for example, BPOs are now shifting to the provinces. You've got the Balik Provincia program. To what extent are you going to be better off or worse off than the capital here?
We see things moving fairly stable in terms of pricing, no? And I think the challenge of most developers really is how to make things affordable for the market and the buyers. And that would mean having to incentivize the buyers or even locators and stretching certain terms. And that way, you still preserve the kind of prices that we are still enjoying or managing these days. So even if the BPO were to look at spaces, office spaces here in Cebu City, it's probably uh, a plus or minus the 5% of what it was
Okay.
pre-COVID, no, in terms of rental rates.
Okay. Sir, you mentioned about stretching payment terms so that you don't take too much of a hit in terms of property price downfall. To what extent can property companies afford that? To waive rental fees from tenants in your commercial spaces to actually, extend the payment terms. Is this something that will adversely affect your bottom line? Have you seen that already?
It's really how you are able to preserve your own liquidity position, no? And your balance sheet has a lot to do with that. Now, in the case of Cebu Landmasters, I think we have made very sure that we have all things calculated for us to afford certain incentives that we could give to the buyers. And these things will definitely augur well for not just the market, but even for us, no, that will still realize all of these sales and then be able to complete them because of the resources that has been tied up to the projects. So this is pretty much calculated in that sense.
Okay. Sir, loan growth, we reported it earlier before you came on the stream, is actually still slower than normal, despite the fact that the Bangko Central has already cut interest rates. It's at a record low. We've got triple R cuts. Are banks still hesitant for retail loans? Especially, they're very worried about bad loans. How is it? Are you feeling actually more liquidity, and are the residential buyers you're very focused on, even low cost affordable housing? Do these people have the access now to loans? And are you feeling that in the demand?
I think a lot of banks are still very supportive of consumer loans, especially when it's about the it's about housing. No? It's a social need, and even the government would like to encourage banks to support such projects, and we're happy with that. No, in the case of developers, we have to also see how different banks take a look at commercial loans in real estate. So it's a case to case basis as far as where they would like to go, but definitely in providing support to consumer loans and also for future homeowners. I think the support continues to be there.
Okay. Sir, what about the fact that remittances are also very low right now? It's at an all-time low. Expected to be more given displaced OFWs. This, of course, is a big chunk of your residential demand. What's your projection on that?
Are you referring to the OFW?
Remittances, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
the OFW. Okay. Well, the remittances, we felt that the drop could go as much as 10%, no, year on year. But what we have also experienced in the first half, that the contribution of the OFW sales uh, dropped from what was usually 40% to about 20%. So the reliance on the OFW market was replaced by the local demand. That's why we experienced this 43% reservation sales in the second quarter. So it's a pretty
Interesting.
pleasant surprise in the shift that the OFW may have dipped, but it was also taken over by the strong demand from the local market.
Okay, so good to know that despite that, there's actually still a huge demand. And you had mentioned in your report a backlog even of residential housing. Sir,
Right.
tell us about your projects that you are focusing on, your priority projects right now, and more about the Ming Mori reclamation in Cebu.
Well, it's still basically going to be home and residential sales for Cebu Landmasters. That's where the
Okay.
demand is. We expect that to be a major contributor, something like 90%. The rest are spread out on the hospitality and the retail and the rental revenues that we have been able to do. So the focus will remain to be there, but we continue with our mixed-use development, even our townships that are going through land development in the Davao Global Township that we have. And now that you mentioned about Migmori, we
Mm-hmm.
recently got this ECC approved by the DNR, and we hope by the completion of some more of these requirements that we could finally start reclaiming on that particular project by the middle of next year. That to us is a key project because it will contribute. It's an employment generator because it's predominantly industrial estate. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a very good economic stimuli in a way for Cebu City or VisMin in general.
Okay, sir. So still actually banking on the commercial and industrial parks and buildings in the future. Sir, just last question before I let you go. You can see actually on my terminal here, Cebu Landmasters,
Mm.
one of two companies in the property space that's actually in the green. Year to date, you're coming out with your second quarter earnings. A lot are looking out for that and seeing whether you will beat their estimates. Give us a bit of a flavor there, sir.
Well, I'm just happy to note that pre-COVID, our stock price was really even below four, no, 4 pesos per share. Now we're hovering around 5 peso and above range, which is a pretty good development for us, considering that we had to face the second quarter storm. Now, yeah, we will be presenting the second quarter earnings in a few days. We will be disclosing that, but just to have a little flavor, yeah, there's a slight dip,
Okay.
but it's something that we have been pretty pleasantly surprised as well, considering
Hmm.
the slowdown that we have on the construction progress. But yet we are able to manage that, and it's not it's not something that we are worried about. We're in fact very happy with the
Okay.
developments because we look at the third and the fourth quarter to be our stronger quarters, which should definitely make us very optimistic that we could attain the targets or the guidance targets that we have set at the start of the year.
Okay, thank you so much for that outlook, sir. So a bit of a dip, but still better than expected, given the fact that it's been a very difficult period and looking forward to even better times in the third and fourth quarters. Thank you very much. That was, of course, CEO of Cebu Landmasters, Jose Soberano III.
Thank you.